Hello, and welcome to another episode of YEA Entertain Us. I am Marcel Pierre, and I am truly excited to be interviewing our next guest this week. He is none other than Jared Withrow. Jared is an extraordinary actor and one of our YEA directors. I don't want to give away too much, so let's get into the show. Hey, Jared, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You have been a very busy. Your resume is amazing. Your bio is amazing.
Thank
I
you.
have to ask you though, what has been your favorite role thus far?
My favorite role would probably have to be the theatrical or the theater production of Romeo and Juliet, just because it's so intense and wide range of emotions and a
Mhm.
lot of passion, and it's Shakespeare. So it's like super challenging just to make sure that you are speaking every line with that Shakespearean diction and clarity, and we were using British accents, so that was fun too. And
How do you even go about challenging Shakespeare? Like that's such a hard thing to
yeah,
do.
it's they have sources out there that like break down what you're saying, like what it means, which is helpful because for as an actor for me, I want to know what I'm communicating and what the lines mean. So definitely those resources helped. The more I understood what was actually happening, the easier it was to communicate. So
Oh, that's amazing. Now I know Levon has a burning question for you. Go ahead, Levon.
Yeah, I know you're really big in acting and your resume is great. So I want to know, like, in your opinion, what would you say is for other actors too, like, for in your opinion, what is like the easiest thing about acting for you and hardest thing? How would you gauge that?
yeah, so the easiest would be reading the script, um, understanding like, okay, this is the story, this is the character, um, in my head. Like I can see how it should be or how I perceive it, the story to be. And then the hardest thing would be to actually effectively execute that, whether you're doing it stage or if in front of the camera. You have to get through all the awkwardness, especially on camera. Um, Being on a film set is in my opinion more awkward and challenging than doing a play, in the sense that everything's broken up and you're doing scenes piece by piece, or you're telling the story piece by piece. So you have to be in the mindset of like, okay, in this context of the story, the characters are now here, and this is what we have to bring to it. And then you're doing that in this intimacy of having a camera capturing every moment and having all these people off in the parameters, just like kind of watching and expecting you to get lightning in a bottle. And so that's a little more challenging, whereas in theater, you're projecting much bigger because you're projecting to the person in the back of the auditorium, and you're telling the story linearly, so it's like all the emotions are like flowing out how they should naturally in that context. So yeah, so basically to me it's like the beginning is the easiest because you're just reading and you're taking it all in, and the execution of it is definitely the hardest aspect, in my opinion.
Yeah. Tony, I know you got something to ask. Let's go for it.
So, like, I know there's a ton of actors and actresses out there. Is there one or more big name actors that you draw inspiration?
Certainly. There's plenty out there, and there's plenty that have influenced me or inspired me, but I always go back to classic Jimmy Stewart, from It's a Wonderful Life, and he did a lot of Hitchcock. And so like I grew up watching his films, and he comes from a real golden age of Hollywood and filmmaking. And I just his ability to show range and just different emotions, and just the diversity of like the roles he has played. I admire his work. So
Is there anyone you feel like you could relate to the most as far as an actor, or basically
um
your skill and their skill, or?
That's kind of why I pick him too, because I've gotten compared to him a lot. My mom used to always say, "Oh, you're like Jimmy Stewart." And I was like, "No," I was like, "I don't see it." But as I got older, I started to connect more to it, and then I've done a couple plays that he was in, or like roles that he had played before. So then I really started to connect all the more just in that regard. So that's why I kind of picked him. I was like, yeah, anytime I'm asked this question, I'm gonna go to that. So,
All right, Kim, what you got for us?
So Jared, I would like everyone to know a little bit more about Jared, in which they can, of course, go to the feature page and read more about him. But um, Jared, you are also a director for us and in the film industry. And I really appreciated working with you so far on all the projects that we've done. And your experience has brought some new insight for our students, as well as those applying for jobs and doing auditions. And between the theater and the voiceover that you do and the acting, and you're also a model for us, which you do very well. Would you have a preference as far as what you favor?
uh, yeah, I just go with acting because that's always been my main passion, and the main reason for that is because I'm hiding behind someone else. That's why I'm drawn to the art form, because um, it's not me as much as I'm stepping into the shoes of someone else and getting to portray that person. And that's the big draw for me. The other art forms, which modeling, what I appreciate about it is I use acting to kind of hide behind that. Whatever outfits we're modeling, I just kind of try to fit a character that would be wearing that attire and go with it, and that helps. But with music, um, it's more personal, I guess. So it's like a little more wearing, like with me, because I'm more singer songwriter and like just doing my own songs. So it's like wearing my heart on my sleeve at that point, which is more uncomfortable, and to bear that out or put that out is a little more it's vulnerable. But voice acting is the same. Like voice acting is just as good as acting, in the sense that like I'm hiding even more than it's just my voice. So it's like, like
Yeah.
it's a comfortable place to be. So acting, voice acting, I really enjoy those two mediums in that sense.
There's different techniques that I'm sure you use for each type of medium that you're portraying your art or your craft with. I'm immensely impressed with the memorization that you've had to do on some of your projects, and that I've had the privilege to come and see you at. Is there any techniques or anything you can share with the audience to kind of give them a tip on
Yes,
how to get through these scripts and getting, to memorize what you need to memorize?
certainly. And I will say this, getting your lines memorized is foundational. So it's like really the first step. You can't go forward until you've got those internalized. And for me, it boils down to repetition and association. So repetition, obviously, you're saying them over and over and over. The association aspect is associating what you're saying as the character, how it's affecting the scene, how it's driving the scene, or interacting with the other characters in the scene. And that just helps it click for me. So, and I also like to stand, I like to pace while I'm doing it. So as long as I'm repeating the lines, reading the scene, understanding, associating everything that's happening, for me, that's how it really starts to just click and become internalized. And that's really my main mode of memorization. And then obviously, if you can work with some of the other actors, that helps too, where you can just bounce back and forth. You get it to where you guys are just lightning speed off each other. Just, you don't even have to have emotion to it. You're just repeating the lines, bouncing them off as fast as you can, so that you know that you have it like the back of your hand. Um, and for me, that's what works. Other people may have other modes, but that's what I prefer.
Yeah, thanks for that tip. I want to say you're great at auditions too, and it's one of the things that over time you have to get comfortable with. You know, you're really good with it, and thank you for sharing some auditioning techniques with our students and talent. And we really look forward to what's coming up next with you.
Absolutely.
Well, something I know we all are dying to know. What is next for you? What do you have in the works? What's happening?
Yeah, so I have a role that I'm really excited to play, and this particular project is called Burnt by a Latte, and it's a very whimsical story. It's being filmed in Grand Rapids, and we were supposed to have already filmed it by now, but it's been postponed, due to COVID. So right now we're kind of just taking it one step at a time, but it's given us more time, to basically be prepared for when that time comes. But that's next as far as for acting. And I have some personal projects I'm working on, trying to get off the ground as well.
Well, I know we all cannot wait to see what's happening next when everything comes to fruition. I just want to thank you so much again for coming onto the show, and you're just amazing.
Wow. Bless your heart. Thank you. You guys are great.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right.
Yeah, Jared, we're looking forward to listening to your music too coming up.
Okay. Yeah. I have a single coming out. That's another thing. So
yeah. See, there's so much with
You're
Jared.
holding
Go to
out
our
on
website
us.
and learn more about Jared.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, everyone. That was Jared. Jared is also one of our featured artists on our YEA website and also one of our directors and instructors at the Academy. Now, Tony will tell you where you can find more information on both Jared and YEA.
Yes, so at the end of this video, all of our social media handles, so for the host, for Jared, and for YEA will be there. Our Facebook, our Instagram, and our beautiful website, so you can check us out on all of those platforms.
Thanks, Tony. Again, I want to thank my fabulous co-hosts, Kim, Tony, and Levon. You guys are always amazing to talk to, and I can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye.